You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still lights of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Key, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
I'm talking about shout it going crazy. People going crazy in these motherfuckers. Run that shit back, man.
But it means nothing. Nothing. Got a woman on the bed. Man made the car. Man made the train to carry the heavy load. Man made the electrolyte to take us out of the dark. Man made the boat for the water. Let the devil know me now. Man thinks about a little bit of baby girl and a baby boy. And man makes them happy because man makes them joy. But after man make everything we can, do you know that man makes money? To buy from other men. This is a man's world.
Hello?
Grand rising of season 10, episode 30.
Oh, you're on the air. Okay. Well, call me when you're call me when you're on your way.
Okay. Will do.
All
right, love you, sis.
Okay.
Bye-bye. That was Sister Bianca. Thank y'all for tuning in to Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase. This is season 10, episode 13 of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced. Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase. And on this Grand Rising, we will be discussing the dump, as in human shit. And we want to make that
perfectly clear, by the way.
So Shabaka wanted to touch on the fact that Elon Musk has control or has access to people's Social Security records, even though a judge just ruled that he doesn't have access to those records. What else, Shabaka?
Okay, and also too, we want to talk a little bit more.
Oh yeah, the travel ban.
Right.
The ban to 15 African countries.
African nations. Yeah.
Vehicles still being vandalized across the country over his role in DOGE, and Elon Musk access to people's SSI records, and anything else you want to. Also, the dump is getting rid of the Department of Education. I actually think that's great news. Great
news. See, what's happening here, people, is that with the dump, as in human shit, and I want to make that perfectly clear. Hey, crew, hey, twin, okay, is that what this is doing, Black family, is that this is forcing us to fight our way out the corner. Okay, all right, because we are all we got. Okay, so therefore, hey, Mac 285, thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mac 285. Okay, is that we are all we got. Okay, and it's up to us to take care of us. It's because you could best believe, as sure as shit stinks, in about 3 months, is that all these other groups are going to come on to us. Well, how come the Black community ain't there? How come the Black community ain't there? And all this old type of stuff. You see what I mean? It ain't there from us. You say, and guess what I saw, people? You're going to love this. Guess what I saw? I saw on videos and stuff like that of a Black police officer beating the living dog shit out of a white guy.
Oh, about time. That's about damn time.
Oh, yeah. That's great news. But, of course, they're going to set the brother up. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, his penalty is going to be enhanced. It's because, the victim was white. Now, not to mention the fact that in the great state of Florida, that actual where the white supremacists got out there and said, when are your niggas going back to Africa, blah, 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 across the rack, hillbilly cigar chewing pot gut drunks, you know what I'm saying, who are nothing but a bunch of busters anyway, in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so therefore, as that is even being emphasized more so, okay, that we got to do for ourselves is because we are all we got, okay? And the generations after me, people, if we don't take care of ourselves, then we will have our own selves to blame. Now, that is just my opinion. So please hit me with some feedback on that. And then Department of Education has been and is being dismantled. Okay. All righty. And then
I got a whole clip on that I was going to from Democracy Now.
By all means. Okay, by all means.
Shout out to Amy Goodman.
Oh, yeah. Boy, she's been there for 50 years, at least I know of. Shout out to Amy Goodman.
Executive order Thursday to start dismantling the Department of Education, though the agency can't be formally shut down without congressional approval. Since taking office, Trump's already slashed the department's workforce in half and cut $600 million in grants. Trump's executive order instructs Education Secretary Linda McMahon to begin shutting down the agency.
My administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good. We want to return our students to the states where just some of the governors here are so happy about this. They want education to come back to them, to come back to the states, and they're going to do a phenomenal job.
For the signing ceremony, Trump created a fake classroom inside the White House, flanked by school children sitting at desks. They were given fake executive orders to sign as well. Many groups have criticized the move to shut down the department. Kerry Rodriguez, president of the National Parents Union, said, quote, "Let's be clear. Before federal oversight, millions of children, particularly those with disabilities and those from our most vulnerable communities, were denied the opportunities they deserved," she said. Gerald Griggs, the president of Georgia's NAACP, also criticized Trump's move.
Everybody says they want to support children. They have a right to life. But what happens after they're born? They have to be educated. And if you're cutting the Department of Education, whose sole purpose is to provide a quality education for all of Americans, but particularly those that are in public schools, I think this is ill-fated and will be very detrimental to this state and the United States.
That's not detriment right there.
Niggas on puppet strings.
Yeah, exactly.
Boule NW Negroes.
Yes, sir.
Look, he got the bone tie.
Yeah, you're funny you should say that, man. You must have read my mind, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, this is just a ridiculous, okay? Is because if you're going to have any type of racial healing in this country, okay, you have to address this hard. Now, the counter is going to be on that we're going to slap, well, you know, black people saw themselves into slavery. Biggest fucking lie ever, too. They were lied to, they were deceived, and everybody's heard me read Lerone Bennett in regard to that, you know, many of times, so I'm not going to rehash that. Okay, so what it is, we have to build up our own economics. We got to get our own STEM programs going. We got to have our own internet services and what have you. Because I am sick and tired that every time I turn on my cell phone and my computer, I got to look at a bunch of fucking advertisement that I'm not interested in the least. Oh, well, you could pay us like $50 a month to get rid of your advertisement. Okay, $50 a month to get rid of the advertisement. Okay, well, how come you individuals ain't paying us to get rid of it? Now, Andrew Yang had stated is that, you know, who was an engineer at Google, says that they're making so much damn money over there in Silicon Valley, they ought to be paying you $1,000 a month just to look at this bullshit. And it kills all your data on your laptop. You know what I'm saying? Kills all your data on your cell phone. It kills all your data on your desktops. You see what I mean? And then on top of it, people, okay, they're censoring us left and right. And there are only two sexes, male and female. All right. Yep. Now, your third-party sexes, and then your third-party sexes, okay, you have your human rights, you have your civil rights, but you do not have the right to come up to me telling me that the crack of your funky, stinking, nasty, disease-infested ass is a woman's womb. No, no. But you have your human rights and you got your civil rights.
Let's see what the comments say. Trump is a fool. All right, let's hear from more.
Yeah, Trump is doing a fool. Yeah. And then Mac 285. You know,
the White House says several critical programs will continue, including student loans and federal Pell Grants. We go now to Gloucester, Massachusetts. We're joined by Jennifer Berkshire, co-author of the book, The Education Wars, A Citizen's Guide and Defense Manual. She's also host of the education podcast, Have You Heard? Her recent piece for The Baffler is headlined, Cruel to Your School, Trump's War on Public Education. Jennifer Berkshire, thanks so much for being with us. Why don't you start off by explaining what the Department of Education does?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. And when it comes to the Department of Education, it's so easy to venture into the weeds and to get lost in those programs and the acronyms. But when you quoted Carrie Rodriguez, she was exactly right. Those programs, those things like Title I, they were set up in order to smooth out the vast disparities that we've long had in this country, that disparities between kids based on race, where they live. And so the Department of Education provides 10% of education funding around the country, primarily to low-income schools and rural schools. And when you think about the real focus of the efforts of the Trump administration to weed out what they would call woke or DEI, this is really it. It's anything that the government does to make the country more equal. That's why they're going straight at these programs. And it's also why public education as an institution is so vulnerable right now.
Public education.
Talk about children with disabilities. You know, there's the whole discussion of DEI, of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it really actually is DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Can you explain, Jennifer?
Yes, absolutely. So people don't realize just how recent it is in this country that students with disabilities are guaranteed the right for a free and appropriate education. You can still meet people who came of age in the 70s and had, siblings who didn't have, school could just turn them away because they had a disability. And because we have a law on the books called IDEA, Linda McMahon did not know what it stands for, but it is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And so basically, students have a right that's enforced through the Department of Education. And so it's no coincidence at all that in those layoffs that you mentioned, they went really hard at the division that enforces civil rights. The overwhelming majority of civil rights complaints are from parents who are seeking services and access for kids with disabilities. And basically the department is saying now, you know what? We're no longer going to enforce your right. Instead, we're going to turn what's left of our civil rights division into a sort of a weaponized, lean machine that goes after alleged acts of anti-Semitism and then also things that they suspect of having to do with gender ideology.
And Trump vowing to fully preserve popular programs like Pell Grants?
That was a real tell, I thought, that you heard him talk about preserving programs that the Department of Education now oversees, things like Title I and funding for special education and Pell Grants, because he knows that getting rid of these programs would be very politically unpopular. And so he's sort of talking about it in the same way that they're talking about Social Security and Medicare. Like, we see them off stage mucking about, but we're being assured that there won't be any interruption in essential services. But as we know from reading the playbook, that would be Project 2025, the goal is not to continue to spend the same amount of money, but just in a different way. It's ultimately to phase out spending. It's to privatize the loan portfolio and make it more difficult and more expensive for kids to go to college. And these are things that I think are really unpopular with American voters across party lines, which is why you don't hear the Trump folks really, admitting where their ultimate destination is.
Jennifer Berkshire, how does this executive order fit into the broader war on public education?
It was really telling to see who Trump picked to join him in that weird scene where he signed the order. So you have the kids at the desk, but then you have some of his favorite governors. Now, why are they his favorite governors? Because they are all in states that either have or in the process of implementing what are called universal school vouchers. So this means that the state now picks up the tab for parents to send their kids to private religious schools. And most importantly, that money is not going to pay the cost of kids who are leaving public schools. It's now going to pay the tuition for parents who already sent their kids to private religious schools, which means that increasingly in states like Ohio and Indiana, you have the government paying for the very wealthy to send their kids to private religious schools. So why would this be your vision? Because if Trump had wanted to assemble, like the states that are doing the best on, say, standardized tests, this would not be the crew you'd have, right? Florida was so unhappy with how it fared on the latest round of what we call the nation's report card that the Secretary of Education wrote to complain that the test was rigged. And think about somebody like Indiana, your governor's there. Indiana stopped investing in public education, K-12 and higher education 15 years ago. And as a result, college attendance has plummeted and the state is doing really poorly economically. I think it's actually very indicative of where Trump sees us heading, which is to a sort of a meaner, less prosperous, more divided and inequitable future. And you saw it right there on that weird set.
And how this relates to Project 2025 and Christopher Rufo, Jennifer?
Yeah, so they have laid out the playbook, and it's really important to pay attention to what they've been telling us all along. I see so many commentators scratching their heads wondering, what are they up to? Why are they focused on these programs? But we've got, say, a Christopher Rufo out there saying that his goal is to see the percentage of kids who attend college drop by half. Right? That tells you something about the vision that's out there. When Trump talks about returning education to the states, he's talking about the vision that was laid out in Project 2025. And that is really sending funding back to the states in the form of block grants that they can do whatever they want with. Well, we know what they want to do with the money because we saw who was on that stage yesterday. They want to devote an increasing percentage of their education dollars to private and religious schools that don't have to accept all kids. It's a real step backwards, and it's one that I think that we should all reject.
Now that's the case.
Finally, what causes you most alarm as President Trump promises to shutter the Department of Education, though somehow needs congressional approval at the very end?
What gives me most alarm is what a poor job the Democrats have been doing. Speaking up on behalf of public education as an institution and reminding us why we need it and what we stand to lose when it disappears. And I'm hoping that as we start to possibly see some signs of life among the Democrats, that they will lean into this issue. So that both gives me hope, but it also causes me not a slight amount of despair right now.
Jennifer Berkshire, co-author of The Education Wars, A Citizen's Guide and Defense Manual. We'll link to your new article in The Baffler, Cruel to Your School, Trump's War on Public Education.
All right, Shabaka, what's your thoughts?
Okay, as we have stated all along, Trump represents racist white supremacy, okay? I fought all these coon-ass, ass-scratching Negroes in the Congress is because these are nothing but opportunity seekers, okay? They don't care about us. It's up to us to care for ourselves, and what we have to do is build up our own institutions. And I might not see it, but it's very essential for the generations after me that they do this to educate our own children, particularly with the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, is because we are the fathers and mothers of mathematics and all the sciences and what have you, okay? They, and this is probably why what Trump is doing with a preemptive strike of killing, all the acknowledgments of the African nations, okay? Now, just to show you, I had cussed out somebody earlier today on Facebook this morning telling me that Elon Musk was an African. He is not an African. He is a Boer, and he is welcome to bring his lily white ass out here to Las Vegas in 3 months. Yeah, which would be the first day of summer. And it would be about 120 degrees in the shade, something like that. You see what I mean? And I sit there and love to see him get burned up by the sun, you know. And then from what I understand, those pieces of shit called those Teslas, I think, he's losing sales on it, but still that they're, with you having $100 and you only losing 5, so you're still 95% ahead. You see what I'm saying? So it really ain't gonna hurt Musk. Only thing what that boy is gonna do is that he's gonna reinvest in something else, and then they're gonna go to the coons and the ass scratchers, yassa bosses. You know what I'm saying? Oh, massa, our house on fire, man. You know, boss, we sick and all that old type of bullshit. So when will that end? Okay. You know, can somebody please comment in the chat room or on one of our hookups? You know, when will the ass scratching and the bootlicking and the yassa bossing end?
When it stops.
I really.
I already gave you the answer, Shabaka. You be asking questions that we've already given you answers to.
What's the answer to it so I can write it down?
We got to stop incentivizing it. It has to stop being rewarded and profitable.
Okay, stop rewarding yassa bossing. Okay. Yep. Stop rewarding yassa bossing and ass scratching. Okay. All right, making a note. Yassa bossing. Okay. And ass scratching. Okay. Now, and it's very interesting about how they will get these
exactly.
Okay. Okay. And then we also too, as best as we could on this social medium, to let it know is that the ass scratchers and the yassa bosses don't represent us.
Yeah, they don't represent us. They don't speak for us. Like our
exactly.
Blind Black News, they don't speak for us. So
right.
We have to let it see known that they don't speak for us.
Okay, but Twin, with all due respect to what you're saying on that there, Twin, all of us is shot alley craps, man. All money ain't good money, you know. Yeah, but you are right. As long as there's money, it won't stop. Yeah, because these political prostitutes will bend over again. You know what I'm saying? They'll bend over again. So you got me on that one, Twin. So I give you that. You say, but as we all know, all money ain't good money. Yeah, exactly, Twin, that part. Yassa bosses love petty money because they sure as hell are not going to take enough, you see what I'm saying, or demand enough to cause an economical shift in our favor. That they won't do, you see. So we got to set up our own economics. That's it. We got to set up our own economics, you see. Mm-hmm. But I have faith in the generations after me. I think you guys could do it. I might not get there with you, but I think I could rest in peace if you all do that. For real, for real, for real. And then we got to stop, the so-called black on black crime. But however, we do know that this is being economically engineered by outside forces.
Exactly.
Like with the welfare system, where they took the man out of the house.
You said it right. So-called black on black crime, because they act like there ain't no white on white crime, brown on brown crime, yellow on yellow crime, red on red. So they
right. But what they do, these other groups, they keep their shit hidden, But as soon as one of our people go out there, I got to go out there and put it all up here on YouTube and Facebook and all that shit.
This Big U, Rolling 60s, Crip, injunction, and federal RICO has showed me anything. You got to stop doing that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But as is explained to me.
You see why, Shabaka, why I warned you about TMZ?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you did right. You know what I'm saying? You did right. Yeah, people, I was up there, Twin, on HB in Hollywood. HB is Hollywood Boulevard. I went by TMZ. And Brother Jay said, no, get away, get away, get away, get away.
Yeah, he was like, so, TMZ right here. I'm like, stay far away from them, Shabaki.
Yeah, And then they're going to ask me, well, who is you and all that? And I told them, you know what I mean? And then on top of it as well, too, is when are we're going to start making films in cinema about our experience.
We're already doing that, Shabaka. It's just not
Yeah.
made. But we already making our own documentaries, our own films. That's already
and I am seeing that there, you know, on social media, which is a beautiful thing. And then also, too, is that I want to make an announcement on a like page of
I want to make another announcement, too, about that. So Tariq Nasheed, he's working on a new Hidden Colors 6. I can't wait to watch it.
Okay.
So it's going to be an addition to the already existing Hidden Colors series.
Okay, and then...
Like you can literally teach a whole class on one of the Hidden Color films, let alone
yes, sir.
So we have plenty of tools out there to educate our children. So we don't necessarily need these public indoctrination centers to educate our children on true history. But go ahead, Shabaka.
Okay, so that's where we got to get innovative, and then I'm supposed to be going to Los Angeles soon, and then what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go.
When you go, Shabaka, you got to check out the Hidden History Museum.
Yes, sir.
2131 West Jefferson Avenue.
Okay, and it sounds like the cross street is Arlington. I know the corner well. You know what I'm saying? It's been a few years since I've been there, but I know how to navigate to it. And then if we can meet, you know, Mr. Nasheed, you know, and thank him for the excellent work of what he's doing, although I don't agree totally with everything that he says. But however, I recognize the brother's effort of what he is trying to do. You know what I mean?
All right, Shabaka, I'm going to move us along to the travel ban, which was what we were supposed to be talking about initially.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The dump, a.k.a. Trump, travel ban to at least 15 African countries.
Yes, sir. Burkina Faso was the first one. I wonder why.
Because they're the only ones that's actually living up to that Pan-Africanism. Let's see.
Trump's travel ban is coming. We now know that 43 countries are on that list. Is your country included? Stay tuned. I'll tell you everything in this video. Which countries are included, what's going to happen with this ban, when it's going to be impacted, and will green card holders also be impacted? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Immigration Channel. In this video, I'll be covering the upcoming travel ban. We got so many comments, so many questions from people that are watching and are wondering what's going to happen with this travel ban. Will my country be impacted?
Oh, it sounds like you could donate to us, homie.
If I'm impacted, how will I be able to come to the United States if I'm applying for a work visa, a family petition, a green card, or even a regular non-immigrant visa? I'm going to try to cover as much as I can in this video, so make sure you watch this all the way until the end. I'm going to cover all the different elements of this ban. This ban has 3 different groups. We'll talk about each one of these groups and what exactly you need to know. So again, make sure you watch this video all the way until the end so you don't miss not only your country as well, but also understanding all your families will be impacted. So let's jump right in. A draft memo of the travel ban was leaked a few days ago and was released in the New York Times. And based on this article and a few other memos that were leaked since then, we now know that there's a defined list of 43 countries that are going to be targeted under this travel ban. Now, let's go back and understand why is this happening. It is happening because on January 20th, when he signed his executive orders, many executive orders, one of these executive orders protecting the United States from international foreign terrorists, one of the things in this executive order was that he was going to create a travel ban. They're going to have 2 months to come up with a plan to figure out which countries who are not vetting their citizens properly, who are not having proper protections from their citizens coming to the United States, how they're coming to the United States, those people, those countries will be subject to a particular ban. And we waited all this time, and now we have some more information about, first of all, what this ban is going to be about and what countries are going to be included. So what do we know so far? So far, we know that we have 43 countries identified on this travel ban. And within those 43 countries, they're going to divide them into 3 groups. The first group, they call it the red zone. The second is going to be the orange zone. And the third is the yellow zone. These zones or tier systems are going to be determining what is the level of restriction that the countries on the list will have. So if we go with the red zone, the red tier, countries in that list are completely banned from the United States. And at this moment, we don't know if they're going to be allowed to get any waivers or any other exceptions. For now, it's a complete ban. The second tier is the orange area. In the orange area, countries listed there are subject to limitations. It's not a complete ban, but they have visa limitations on how they can come to the United States. The third zone, the third tier, the yellow tier, those countries are not banned. They now have 60 days to make changes to the vetting, how they are processing restrictions on their nationals before they're traveling to the United States. And then the government is going to review again that list and determine if their nationals will have restrictions coming into the United States. And somewhere on my screen, you should see the list of the countries on the red zone. I'm not going to list all the countries on the red zone, but you can see them on the screen. We're looking at countries like Afghanistan, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Yemen, and Venezuela. Those countries on the red list are at the moment completely banned from entering the United States.
And Sudan
also,
and
what
Somalia.
we're not familiar with at the moment is whether green card holders from those countries are also banned from travel or not. This is something that we're waiting for some guidance yet to be announced. But remember that people who are coming from those countries, whether you're applying for non-immigrant visa.
And guess who's from Sudan, Shabaka?
Who's from the Sudan?
Myron punk-ass Gaines.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, what's his story?
He's that one. He's the one that's always trolling us, Shabaka. He talks like a white supremacist face.
Oh, okay. So therefore, he's got fingerprints on the brain. Okay. And his ass is welcome.
He's a former Homeland Security officer.
Oh, really? Delete and block his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dangerous.
Whether
and guess what I got, people?
Visa, green card, whether you're applying for a work visa.
Hold on, Shabaka, I got to finish the video. It's like another 8 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to be careful because, again, we don't have the information right now. But if it's a complete ban, I would imagine that they won't let people apply for visas at the moment. People that are waiting for interviews will be descheduled, which will obviously increase the backlog of visas for people that are waiting to come from those countries. The big question is, are they going to allow waivers on a case-by-case basis? For example, if somebody is an exceptional, if somebody needs to come to the United States for a particular reason, are they going to issue waivers? Those are things that we don't know yet. But of course, once we know, I will create another video to update you. So this is the red list, complete ban. Moving to list number 2, zone number 2, the orange list. The orange list will carry limitations. People from that list will be able to enter the United States, but they're going to be subject to certain limitations. Maybe they're going to have to register. Maybe they're going to have to provide additional documents before they come to the United States. We're looking at countries like Belarus, like Russia, Pakistan, Haiti, South Sudan, and many other countries on that list. Again, if you see your name of the country on that list, the list should be somewhere here on the screen. Remember that you're not completely banned, but you're going to have visa restrictions. The other thing for countries on the orange list is that you will be experiencing extra scrutiny when you apply for a visa. So if you are from the red list, you probably won't even have any visa interviews because you're banned at the moment. From the orange list, you will still be subject to an interview, and they're going to decide at that interview on a case-by-case basis if A, you should be granted a visa, and B, whether you should be able to enter the United States. Also remember, if you're on the orange list, once you travel to the United States, even if they give you a visa at the embassy. So imagine you're somebody from Pakistan. You got a visa at the embassy, even though you're on the list, you show up at the port of entry, a CBP officer will conduct further investigation, further interview, because you're on that list. They'll ask you certain questions. They're going to have their instructions, what to do at the airport, how to question you. So remember, even if you pass hurdle number 1 and you get your visa and your passport and you're on the orange list, you show up in the United States at the CBP port of entry, you will be subject to further interview, further scrutiny. And if you pass that, then you'll be able to come to the United States, possibly under some restrictions. We don't know that yet, but that is how it's going to work with this orange list. Remember, guys, if your country is on that list, you are still in good shape. You can still come to the United States. We have a lot of people from Pakistan who are watching these videos. And I'm telling you guys, don't be worried. It just means that you have to prepare more for the interview. It means that you have to be more aggressive about what you are putting in your case, more evidence, more guidance, more things that you need to show to the government and say, hey, I qualify for this visa. Please give it to me. That's all it means. So just a little bit more work, but at least you are not completely barred. At least you can still come to the United States with your families and apply for non-immigrant visas, for immigrant visas, and all the good stuff. So orange list, you in good shape so far. But that means more scrutiny, and that means, guys, you got to take interviews in a more serious way. Now let's move to the yellow list. Countries on that list are not barred. They're not limited yet, but you guys have 60 days to correct certain things, and those things will be sent to your countries, to your governments, in terms of vetting, in terms of checking passports, to make sure that people in those countries are getting passports the proper way. When they arrive to the United States, before they leave the country, is there proper vetting? Did you check if they're criminals or not? If you're going to improve that based on a list that your government
you got
will be
a
getting from
damn
the United
criminal
States,
in the White
then you'll
House.
be
He's a
removed from the list,
38-count convicted felon.
to the United States
Just
just like
the
before this
hypocrisy is
country.
real.
Also, countries that are on the yellow list will have to provide more info sharing with the United States. Currently, it's kind of deficient.
Why
If they're going to be
Angola's
willing
at the
to
top?
do that, then they will be removed from the
Let me go
list,
back.
and
Let
their
me get a
nationals will
list
be able to
here.
move to the United States freely like they did before. So
You did it
60 days,
quick.
make provide more info.
Okay, so we got Antigua, Barbuda. I think that's how you say it.
Benin,
Benin,
Burkina Faso, Chad, the
Cambodia,
Cameroon,
Cameroon,
Malawi,
Cape
Mauritania,
Verde.
Gambia. Whoa,
That's
hold
where
it. We found some hypocrisy. Why is Liberia on there? Aren't they descendants of Americans?
Yeah, they were supposed to be an American colony, right?
Yeah, right. The hypocrisy thickens.
So no, you can't come here if you're from Monrovia, but you can. But
Yeah. Now, here's the scandalous part, people, about Liberia. I saw old Mike Wallace, and Mike Wallace, may you rest in peace, because you covered everything. Your son, Chris Wallace, ain't shit. Okay.
These are all black countries.
Yeah, but Liberia, according to Mike Wallace, and I think people, you would have to, pull up the reels in the late 70s, saying that they call themselves descendants of Americans. But now look at this hypocrisy right here. But if you descendants
So are
of
they
Americans,
Are they Africans though? Are the Liberians?
But what I'm just saying, though, Brother Che, is this orange dude, man, is showing you how he honestly feels. You see, because all we got is each other. You see what I'm saying? And Mauritania, whoa.
Very few, if any, European countries on any of these lists.
Well, of course. You know what I'm saying? Of course. You see? I don't see France up there. I don't see England up there. I don't see the Netherlands up there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only European country I remember seeing was Belarus.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I remember during the Clinton regime, or didn't they have Belarus or something about it?
Yeah, I think that's how they got their independence from the Soviet Union.
Yeah. You see. But the point is, people, is that they are targeting us. You see, as long as if you are of African descent.
All these countries on your screen is African black nations.
Mm-hmm. But they've been colonized. You see what I'm saying? And I think the one that put up
European colonies, all of them, every last one of them.
And let's see, and kidding. Okay. Now there's some interesting Black history on there about Mauritania. You know what I mean? And then too, and Dr. Kwesi, yeah, and Dr. Ashwa, if you're out there, sir, please get with us. You know what I'm saying? Because he does very, very.
You're gonna have to.
He's gonna have to what?
You're gonna have to message him on his YouTube page. Leave a comment on one of his videos and see if he'll get back to you.
Right. And then also too, we're reaching out to another scholar too. And I'll keep you posted on that there, Brother Che. You know what I mean?
All right, we got 2 more minutes left of this clip.
Okay.
As to when it's going to start, which countries are going to be priority, and all the good things that we'll be able to share with you once we know. But for the moment, it's all in draft mode. It gives us enough time to prepare. So if you guys are outside of the United States and you're on one of the lists, you need to move yourself here before the end of March. That is a good thing to do if you have the right to move to the United States. If you already have a visa, come here. If you don't, we're going to have to just wait and see what's going to happen with the restrictions. If you are about to get an interview, try to expedite your interview.
Because I know Minister Farrakhan owned his ass.
So you'll be covered before these bans will be implemented. Why is it so important to know about this? Because it's going to change how people move around the United States. Because guess what? Once these bans are going to be implemented, I feel like a lot of these countries that are on the yellow list and the orange list might have some retaliatory factors against U.S. citizens in terms of what they allow U.S. citizens to do when they come to those countries. Maybe they're going to have to register. Maybe they're going to have to apply for visas. It's going to change how people travel to the United States, but also from the United States to other countries. All that still remains to be seen. In the meantime, you need to know about this potential ban. You need to prepare if you're going to be traveling. And obviously stay informed on my channel for what's going to happen next. As always, if you need help with your immigration matters, send me a text.
No, because I'm not immigrant.
No, man, we ain't advertising for you, Trick. Like and subscribe to Frontline Black News. Tired of these motherfuckers coming up here, man, getting free advertisement off of us.
Well, we're sharing their content, Shabaka, so it's to be expected. All right, what are your on this travel ban?
Okay, well, we knew it was coming. Okay, once again, is to prevent coalescence between us, you know, as people on this planet. Also, too, as I stated before many times, is now is the time, Black family, for us to build up our own businesses. Is because since they got rid of DEI, we could hire our own people, but what I would like to know, if we can get with a psychologist, you know what I'm saying, although I don't place too much emphasis on psychology, is because the person who they call the father of psychology was a practicing homosexual and a dope fiend by the name of Sigmund Freud, you know what I mean? But now is the time for us, you know, to build our own infrastructures, and I think we could do it. And the cold part about it is, I think white America will endorse it, believe it or not. Well, that way we ain't got to deal with you colored and all that. But however, people, let us learn from the lesson of history of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I visited the Black Wall Street, as you know, Brother Che. And
as you know,
it was interesting.
My godparents are from Tulsa.
Okay. And then, of course, too, and then the Oklahoma State Supreme Court, you know, is going to deny the last 2 survivors who are over 100 years old now, you know, the reparations.
110, they're going on 111, 112.
Yeah, you see. And so when they transition, may their souls rest in power for witnessing, you know, that horror.
Had the opportunity of meeting Viola Fletcher's brother, Van Heaton Ellis, before he was away a few years ago, or a couple years ago.
Okay.
He was 102.
Okay. All righty. Okay. All right. So, but what it is, though, to our Black youth out there, go get educated, and I know the word is educated, and emphasize on doing for self is because the orange dude with Stinky Bird and Little Stink, you know, they telling you of how they honestly feel. You see what I mean? Okay. So I much rather have them tell me, nigga, we hate your black ass. You know what I'm saying? We out to kill you. As opposed to saying, oh, this is all good. You know, we're all integrationalists and all that old type of stuff. You see what I mean? And look what's been happening to some of our black people traveling abroad.
Yeah.
You see? See?
All right, Shabak.
Just like
I'm a move.
Just like when
right
I
now,
was there.
A battle brewing.
Oh, finish your thought, Shabak, and then I'm gonna move us to the next subject, which is Elon Musk having access to people's SSI records.
Oh yeah, glad you brought that up. Okay, but like I said, just like when the tether, you know, it knocked on my door there in Denver, Colorado, when I got snowbound and buried in snow and all that.
Too. Don't come in March.
Yeah.
Salute that Tavius. That Tavius said.
Hey, Tavius, hey, thank you. Okay, and you know, a fool knocks on my door. Hey man, you better get your ass away from my door because I'm about to. No, Sigmund Freud, man. Sigmund Freud, man. You know, dude had an alternative lifestyle, and this is why I question.
Shabaka, this is new terminology, so I'm going to educate you real quick. So instead of the P word, he replaced it with the B word.
Oh, now I'm connecting the dots. Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, now I connected the dots. Okay, resurrection of the mental dead. All right. Yeah, he did. Okay. Now, answer me this here, Octavius. Now, how is this dude here with his lifestyle going to be a quote-unquote expert on the human relations between man and woman?
He can't be an expert. These people,
that's precisely my point, Brother Che. Move to the head of the class. Resurrection of the mental dead. Now, he had his human rights. He had his civil rights. Okay. So, you know, like Bill Clinton, let's be politically correct on that. You know what I mean?
Hey, Kahari.
Okay. Hey, Kahari, greetings from the East. Okay. All right. And so what it is that we got to educate ourselves. We got to educate our own children, people. You see what I mean? You know, and it's going to take a minute. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take a minute to do it. But I honestly believe with this current political fervor that you got going on, okay, it's essential. Now, guess what I got here? Speaking of Social Security, I got a statement from Social Security in regard to yours truly right here. Guess what they say? How much I got coming? Zero.
Oh.
Over access to social security.
That's not good, Shabaka.
Yeah. They say I got zero. Then there's some bullshit in here about to go work another 10 years to retire. Man, this is bullshit, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why we need money right here, people. You know what I'm saying? So this garbage is going to be going into the shredder before sundown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know? And then the cold part about it is, once again, you know, you got these boule, roly-poly Martins, you know what I'm saying, sitting up there talking about having faith in a system that don't have faith in us. Now, the mayor of Dalton, you know, who stole all the money, you know, and then they trying to, and then they try to crumb bum on Jasmine Crockett because she went up there and told the truth and stuff like that. You see what I mean?
I mean, the wrong way, though, Shabaka. She tried to equate our struggle to the transformer struggle. No.
Oh, no. Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, I just learned something. No comparison. No comparison, no comparison, no comparison. Now, you individuals, we used to have a bet where we had $100 set aside. And I think what we did was we spent it on our own living expenses because nobody took us up on a bet that we had up there for about 3.5 years. if you individuals can go prove your last menstrual cycle, okay, we was gonna give you $100, but you give us 200. So nobody took us up on that. Okay, why? Because 2 plus 2 does not equal 3. 2 plus 2 does not equal 1. 2 plus 2 does not equal 5. Yes, say. So we knew that nobody would take us up on it, and that they just proved our point with your silence. But however, you have your human rights and you have your civil rights. Okay.
And the only reason why you have it's because the foundation of America.
Yeah. And then you guys need to go get you some Gillette razor blades, you know what I'm saying? And then also to get Harry's razors, you know, they cut your beard closer, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot. Now, here's a law to propose, okay, is that they got to wear signs when they go out in public stating that they are, in fact, biological males. Yes, say, you remember a few years back, Brother Che, where the Dallas police chief had came out and said, well, there's been a lot of attacks on these transformers, you know. Well, if they go out there, wear signs saying that they are a man, okay, I believe that they would protect them as well, too.
Yeah, because
they was all mystified about why it was happening. You know?
It's a form of rape and sexual predator behavior, Shabaka. Remember the ragtime story? All the
yeah. Thank God they got rid of that shit, is because both of them dudes were in prison, you know, for child molestation.
And then remember the one that got the sisters knocked up in the jail?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, he said he was a woman and he wanted to go to a woman's prison. So they allowed him to do it. But then the dude found out, that he like that little piece of real estate with grass on top after all, huh? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they don't talk about that. Yeah,
no, but let's get to the Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
So DOGE, the court limits DOGE's fraud search of Social Security, orders personal deletion.
Mm-hmm.
Security data between Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency and another federal judge blocking attempts to downsize a bloated and wasteful federal government. It boils down to legal concerns over privacy. The judge saying the Social Security Administration likely violated privacy laws by giving the DOGE team, quote, unbridled access to the data of millions of Americans. In a Thursday ruling, the judge blocked DOGE's ability to enter the systems, the order restricting access to documents such as Americans' personal tax records. The ruling follows similar orders in other cases regarding DOGE digging into sensitive data at the Treasury Department and the Department of Education. In response, Donald Trump's interim Social Security chief threatening to stop Social Security if DOGE can't have the access they say they need to root out
grounds of impeachment.
For the issues. The issue don't make.
But for all you people who went out there and voted for that clown, and you see how he's turning around burning your ass is good for you. All right, Angel Town. What's happening in Los Angeles? Yeah, I watched them build all those skyscrapers. Okay, we're not getting no audio, Brother Che.
StreamYard's on their bullshit again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All righty.
Yes.
So therefore, people, once again, it's time for us to become self-sufficient. This is not hatred or what have you, you say. It's because we got a list of all the patents they stole from us. We got a list of all the brutalization they done to us. you know, particularly there in Los
Rewind.
Angeles.
Yeah, rewind.
Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, a federal judge blocking DOGE from accessing sensitive Social Security records.
And it comes as President Trump signs an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has those details.
In a 137-page ruling, a judge blocking DOGE's unrestricted access to sensitive Social Security agency data, saying the Trump administration failed to justify the need for the data, which they claimed was crucial for identifying potential fraud. The judge calling DOGE's actions a, quote, fishing expedition, saying the group's approach to identifying fraud is tantamount to hitting a fly with a sledgehammer. The ruling comes as President Trump signs an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education, saying he'll return education to the states.
We're going to eliminate it, and everybody knows it's right. And the Democrats know it's right.
The Department of Education has been chiefly responsible for enforcing civil rights laws to prevent discrimination in schools, overseeing the process for students applying for college financial aid, and overseeing funding to help low-income schools and students with disabilities. Republicans have slammed the Education Department as polluted by liberal ideology and bloated bureaucracy. The Trump administration saying it will preserve it and overseeing funding to help low-income schools, Pell Grants, and money for children with disabilities. But some parents worry the massive job cuts will impact services that support their children.
I've always been really proud to be an American because of how much we fight for those who can't fight their own battles or need help. And I just feel like we're doing the opposite of that now. The message that's being sent is that if you require more energy, then too bad, we can't help you.
President Trump is not able to fully eliminate the Department of Education without congressional approval, but his executive order will dramatically scale down its function.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC 7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube.
Yeah, Mark Brown is old as hell.
Well, I remember when he was a young man.
Yeah, Shabaka, you lived there for 40 years.
Yes, sir. You know, I remember when he was a young man, but however, that there just goes to show you that time don't wait for nobody. And what it is, Black family, that we are running out of time, you know, for ourselves. You see, because look at all the hell that we have been through and we still prevailed. You see what I mean?
That's how you know we God's people. We don't even
that's what I was about to say, you know, that there's divine intervention, you know. And if we disagree, Black family, please let us disagree agreeably. Me and Brother Che do it all the time. Okay. Well, I'm not going to say all the time. I'll say, to be honest, about 35% of the time, you know.
Yeah.
But however, it's all a learning experience, and I'm not the most brilliant so-and-so there is, you know what I'm saying? But dag nabbit, you know, I could just relate to the generations after me of what we have been through, you know, as a people. And even Dr. King admitted his mistake, and I will always respect him for it. He led our people into a burning house with integration.
Yeah.
And the cold part about it is him and the X-Man, neither one of them saw the age of 40.
No, they both transitioned to 39. It's another year for me.
Yeah. You know?
Yep. So
YouTube channel and download the ABC 7 Los Angeles streaming app.
Just judge.
No, man, we don't download your apps here, man. That shit's got viruses in it.
What are your thoughts on the judge blocking those access?
Okay, I think it's a good move. I think it's a good move, you know, because they had the Privacy Act, you know, to safeguard your personal information, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot. But however, in this day and age, they could program these computers to do anything. You know what I mean? That's why they ask you, like, well, fill out the survey and all this old type of crap. Don't do it. You say that's how they accumulate it. They already know where you're at, IP address, cell phones, you know, not to mention all the shit that they are not telling you what they're doing. They say, and then old Kamala Harris, you know, well, I'm not going to do nothing strictly for Black people. No.
God damn it, Shabaka. Now I gotta play the clip.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up another video clip.
Which is really sad, by the way.
We also had on the agenda Elon Musk vehicles still being vandalized across the country.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, first place, Elon Musk is a bore. Okay. Plus that I've seen those pieces of shit. The design is ugly. It looks like a military vehicle. Also, too, is that you got to go to an electric charging station to charge it up. And then wasn't it something in Chicago last winter, Brother Che, where the people had those damn electric cars, those EVs, and the damn charging stations
Some
didn't
breaking
work?
news that we are following for you this hour, and this has to do with these Tesla attacks that we have been seeing in recent weeks. We now are learning that Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced charges against 3 people in domestic terrorism attacks on Teslas. 3 people accused of destroying Tesla cars and charging stations are now facing up to 20 years in prison for domestic terrorism. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced just moments ago. She said in a statement as well, the days of committing crimes without consequence have ended. Let this be a warning. If you join this wave of domestic terrorism against Tesla properties, the Department of Justice will put you behind bars. And we've been seeing videos like this for the last couple of weeks. This video coming out of Las Vegas earlier this week as well. The defendants are accused of using high-powered weapons and explosives to destroy property from the Elon Musk-owned car company. One allegedly carried a suppressed AR-15 rifle while lobbying 8 Molotov cocktails at an Oregon Tesla dealership, while another is accused of trying to light Tesla cars on fire with these same explosives in Colorado. And again, this is just some of the aftermath of some other video from Las Vegas as well, showing explosions that were happening earlier in the week here, and you could see those cars that were caught up in the flames. We've also been seeing on social media where there is reports of Tesla cars being keyed and videos of that being put out as well. But again, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, putting this out there against 3 people caught up in these domestic terrorism charges on these latest Tesla attacks. That's the one in Las Vegas. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that for you here on Live Now from Fox. We're coming up on a new hour in just moments. Do want to show you how the Dow Jones is.
Oh, yeah, the stock market. Yeah. Now, I got a question. Okay. Didn't the fool, man, down there a few months ago who went and blew his brains out, man, at Dump Hotel here in Las Vegas, wasn't that a Tesla?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. But what this fool did.
So, car drove over to the Trump Plaza and blew up.
Damn. I mean, the hypocrisy is real, Black family. Okay. Also, too, they mean us no good. All right. And then the first name on the travel ban on the continent of a Cuba line is
Sudan.
Burkina Faso and the Sudan. Now, keep in mind, Sudan has a very, very warlike history.
And Somalia.
Yeah, and Somalia, and Somalia. Yeah.
But they was on the red list, so that's a full-out ban.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's very interesting of how these Europeans are coming together, isn't it? It's very interesting of how all these Asians are coming together. Huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. I thought I was the only one that saw that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, you're not the only. All right, Shabaka. So what else did you want to discuss? Because I got a queue started. We got catch and revoke AI-driven State Department targets pro-Palestinian students and holders.
Okay. All right, let's move on to that. And that there is AI.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. After Mahmoud Khalil was detained 2 weeks ago, President Trump warned he was the, quote, first arrest of many to come. Trump's warning comes as the State Department's launched a program to use artificial intelligence to scrape the social media accounts of foreign nationals, including students, to identify possible targets for deportation. We're joined right now by Faiza Patel, Senior Director of the Brennan Center for Justice's Liberty and National Security Program. Her new piece for the Brennan Center is headlined, U.S. AI-driven catch and revoke initiatives threatens First Amendment rights. Thanks so much for being with us, Faiza. Explain what is going on.
So one thing that's going on is something that's been going on for a really long time, which is that government agencies have been collecting social media information. They've been scraping social media. They've been keeping tabs on what Americans are saying. And this is something that started during really the end of the Obama administration, continued through the first Trump administration, and continued through the Biden administration. And I think it's important to also understand two things. One is AI-driven, sounds really fancy. I mean, basically what they're going to be doing is keyword searches. And we've seen this play out with, as with their attempts to identify so-called DEI initiatives, which led to things like, removing information about, So I think you have a sense of
they dropped the bomb on Japan and they took out the word gay.
Well, they just took out the whole reference, right? I mean, you see this playing out. I mean, they make a lot of really rudimentary mistakes, right? Because there's no context, there's no understanding. You're doing keyword searches and you're taking things offline in the case of the DEI stuff. But when you translate that over to the social media scraping context, you can understand how that will work out, right? Because they will be looking for certain terms and they will be targeting people based on the speech. And that can sweep very, very broadly. In the current context where they're going after pro-Palestinian protests, you've got to ask, right? Is the fact that I liked a Free Palestine post going to be enough to have me deported? I mean, foreign students are running scared because, they may have done something very innocuous in social media and now they're in the crosshairs. But I also think it's important to remember that, the focus on pro-Palestinian speech is sort of the tip of the iceberg. If you look at the executive order that Trump put out, which sort of previews this program, it's not just about what he characterizes as pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas speech. It's also about anything that the administration considers as being basically un-American, right? And so that covers a vast swath of speech. It covers all kinds of protest activity, from environmental, pro-migrant, pro-democracy, pro-voter, it's a wide space that can be covered here.
Are you concerned about this latest news we had in headlines? President Trump rescinded an executive order targeting the law firm Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison after meeting in person with its chair. Under the deal, the law firm will provide $40 million in free legal services supporting Trump's agenda, including his task force to combat anti-Semitism. This is a law firm. And yet we just had a Jewish UCLA student, Israeli-American Jewish UCLA student, saying it's anti-Semitic to go after Jewish students who are protesting against Israel's war on Gaza.
I mean, I think there's a lot of concern overall that civil society institutions have been crumbling almost in the face of pressure from the Trump administration. And I think that sweeps across the board to media organizations that have settled lawsuits with him, universities that, I mean, there was a report in the Wall Street Journal that Columbia was going to accede to the demands from the Trump administration. And there's been a lot of pressure on the law firms as well. So this is, you know, you can't look at any one of these things in isolation. I think it's an overall attack on civil society institutions that could potentially block his agenda.
So it's a catch and revoke program. Explain that further and how that fits into the First Amendment and privacy rights.
Sure. So, I mean, this is a play, right, on catch and release, which was basically the term that was used to describe the policy of sort of apprehending people at the border who were asylum seekers and then releasing them into the country because our immigration court system just really doesn't have the capacity to address their claims in a timely fashion. And we don't actually have detention capacity either. So that's it's a play on that term. And what that means is, I mean, the catch part is basically we're going to figure out who is involved. And currently we're looking at pro-Palestinian protests, who is involved in these protests. And they have a few different sources for that. There are some organizations that have been, you know, doxing people who took part in protests, and they claim to have provided that information to the State Department and to DHS. So that's one source. The other source is going through social media. Now, they have an advantage when it comes to foreigners when going through social media, because since the last, oh gosh, I'm going to space in the time, but I think like 7 years or so, the State Department has been collecting social media handles from everybody who applies for a visa. That's 14.7 million people a year, roughly. And they actually now want to expand that program to another 33 million a year, which includes people who are in the United States who may be applying for, you know, immigration benefits. You know, I'm here on a student visa, I get a job, I want to apply for a work visa. So they're trying to extend that. So this is all like this whole complex. So once they know your social media handle, right, they can track what you say online very, very easily. Now you can create new handles, but, you know, that gives them a baseline to start from. And that means that, you know, everybody's speech can be monitored. And it's not actually just the person whose handle you have, right? It's not just Khalil, for example, in this case, if they were monitoring him, they would also be then, you know, figuring out who his networks are, who the people are in the United States, who are his friends, who are his work colleagues, who are his teachers. It's a very pervasive effort.
And finally, Trump's proposal for a new travel ban that would target citizens of dozens of countries. Draft list of recommendations suggests a red list of 11 countries, including Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen.
I mean, this is a redo of what he did in his first term. And I think one of the things that's super scary about it is that he's also directed the Secretary of State to go back and look at the people who got visas in the previous 4 years under the Biden administration and see if they can be deported too.
Well, I want to thank you for being with us. And Faiza Patel is Senior Director of the Brennan Center for Justice's Liberty and National Security Program. Her new piece for the Brennan Center will link to USAI-driven Catch and Revoke initiative threatens First Amendment rights.
All right, Shabaka, what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, these are some very, very dangerous times that we're living in. And they want to monitor everybody, so therefore the First Amendment, you know, is going to be shit canned if it isn't already.
Yeah, if it isn't already, because it's never been allowed for us.
Right, and then they're going to go up here, you know, on your social media accounts to shut you down. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they already charged Shabaka. We've already been there, done all
they're
that.
doing it. Yeah. So that's supposed to be a violation of the First Amendment, but however, this kangaroo Supreme Court, you know, the executive branch, you know, has them on puppet strings. But if I recall, when I studied basic political science, wasn't there supposed to be a separation of powers between the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch?
Yes, that was supposed to.
So that was correct. What I once read, right? Okay.
Yeah, what you once read and what they used to show on Schoolhouse Rock. Yes.
Yeah. And then also too, a couple of these rock stars. Yeah, a couple of these rock stars that they're bringing out here. You know, these Dump supporters. You know, so if they support Dump, don't buy their records. Hit them where it hurts in the pocketbook. You know.
Yeah. So the JFK assassination files have been exposed, Shabaka.
Dan, 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 dan. Dan, 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 dan. It's a farce because everybody involved, just off the law of biophysics, is no longer alive.
Yeah. So declassified.
So he's window dressing.
Assassination files expose covert CIA operations from the Vatican to Latin America.
Okay.
Again, this is Democracy Now! Amy Goodman.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. We end today's show looking at the federal government's release of around 80,000 pages of documents related to the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy. While the documents have revealed few new revelations on the assassination, the unredacted files are filled with details about covert CIA operations around the world, from the Vatican to Latin America. One document revealed 47% of political officers working in overseas U.S. embassies in 1961 were actually intelligence agents working under diplomatic cover. At the U.S. Embassy in France, the CIA had 123 undercover agents acting as diplomats. The documents also shed new light on CIA activity across Latin America, including in Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Bolivia. Those are just some of the revelations highlighted by the National Security Archive, an independent organization that's been reviewing the documents. We're joined now by Peter Kornblue, senior analyst for Latin America at the National Security Archive. He's researched CIA operations for decades with a focus on Latin America. His books include Back Channel to Cuba, The Hidden History of Negotiations Between Washington and Havana, and Bay of Pigs Declassified, the secret CIA report on the invasion of Cuba. He's joining us now from Wellfleet, Massachusetts. Peter, welcome back to Democracy Now! What's in these tens of thousands of pages of documents that you're continuing to plow through?
Well, we don't have enough time to talk about all the details of the early 1960s history of the CIA kind of global effort to influence elections, sabotage economies, overthrow governments. But we've learned a lot more of the minutiae, of the granular kind of side of these covert operations: names, places, shell companies, expenditures.
All those countries, ain't that where the migrants is coming from?
Then notice you got Haiti up there, the Dominican Republic. Let me see, Costa Rica, Panama. I'm looking at the ones that have a large black population. Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mexico just started classifying black people 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You got Haiti on. You got Puerto Rico on.
West Indies, which will include Jamaica.
You got
a lot of the Caribbean islands. Yeah.
Dr.
And Haiti.
Honduras. Yeah. Colombia. Costa Rica. El Salvador. Dominican Republic, Bolivia, Ecuador, Peru,
Panama,
Uruguay, Argentina, Venezuela.
Okay, so I see at least 4 of these nations that were in the diaspora for the slave trade, which would be Puerto Rico, the West Indies, Colombia, definitely Brazil, definitely Panama.
Definitely got Ecuador.
Definitely Puerto Rico. Okay. All right, so let's see what old boys got to say, and then I think, and is this our last topic for the day here, Brother Jay?
So many little details.
It can be.
All right. Okay. Got to save this data and whatever we do.
That really complete, I think, in many ways, our sense of the universe of covert operations and what they targeted, how they happened, how they, were organized. I mean, it's fascinating from a historical point of view. The U.S. taxpayer, Amy, has shelled out a lot of money for decades now to have these documents kept secure and clean in the vaults of the national security agencies of the U.S. government. And now finally we are accessing this history that we paid for, that we've paid we paid for it to happen. We financed the CIA with our money way back when, and now at least we know what was being done in our name, but without our knowledge.
So you write that on the day President Kennedy's inauguration in January '61, nearly half of the political officers serving in the U.S. embassies were CAS, intelligence officers working under diplomatic cover known as controlled American sources. What's the significance of this, Peter?
Well, simply the significance is that whereas most people thought these were actually State Department officials in U.S. embassies around the world, almost half the people in these embassies, particularly using the office that was called political officer, were CIA undercover agents. It's pretty incredible. As Arthur Schlesinger pointed out in this extraordinary memo that's been completely declassified now to John F. Kennedy on June 10th, 1961, 3,700 officers around the world were CIA officials under diplomatic cover, in comparison to 3,900 of actual diplomats around the world. So it was almost 50%, and that's quite an extraordinary number. And I think a number of countries will be surprised at the kind of level of to which the U.S. embassies were being used as cover for the CIA. Again, this is all in the past. It's old history. We've known for many years that political officers were often used to kind of disguise CIA operations. And there were other parts of the embassies too, the labor attaches, the commercial attaches, et cetera. And then there were the CIA officers that were operating in countries like Chile and Bolivia and Brazil and elsewhere, who weren't in the embassies at all. But it's a tidbit of covert operations history that certainly is dramatic and reminds us of what the United States was doing around the world and is capable of doing in the future.
In light of the U.S. cracking down even more on Cuba right now, especially young people may not know how many assassination attempts there were against Fidel Castro. Is it in the range of 600? And then I want to follow that up with a question about one of the JFK assassination documents being released about the Inspector General's report of the 61 successful, if you call it that, assassination of Rafael Trujillo of the Dominican Republic, revealing the names of CIA officers and others who assisted in the plot. Can you talk about this?
Well, the 600 or so figure about assassination attempts on Fidel Castro comes more from Cuban intelligence than from U.S. intelligence. Wow. Every attempt by any exile group that the Cuban intelligence intercepted or learned about was added up, and those were quite a few. The CIA itself counts about 16 earnest CIA-sponsored attempts, which now have become folklore of covert operations history, exploding seashells, poisoned cigars, sniper rifles, etc. So, we've known about those assassination plots for a long time. There is one document, an internal CIA Inspector General's report on the assassination in late May of 1961 of Rafael Trujillo, the dictator of the Dominican Republic. And it's quite detailed. It names the names of all the CIA officers involved, including their code names that they used in their discussions with coup plotters and the assassination team in the Dominican Republic. It names all the names of the coup plotters as well that the CIA was working with, the name of the actual covert operation, which was called EM-Deed, and the actual assassination plot, which was called EM-Slew. So there are a lot of details on that history, and you get to learn not only how the CIA works with foreigners to assassinate a head of state, in this case the dictator Rafael Trujillo, but you also learn how the CIA goes about investigating its own wrongdoing of the past, the files that it keeps, how they are reviewed, what they yield, etc. So it's quite fascinating from a historical point of view.
We've done a lot on USAID and Trump's essentially shuttering the agency. You've covered foreign policy in Latin America for decades. Can you talk about the story of the USAID's Office of Public Safety?
That's, again, part of the folklore of covert operations. There was a famous movie made about Dan Mitrione, and who was an officer in the Office of Public Safety. It was never completely proven that he was a CIA official. He was kidnapped and executed in Uruguay by the Tupamaros. Became a very famous case. There is evidence in these declassified documents that the CIA did use AID as cover. But, that was a long time ago. And even if it was doing that, there's still quite a bit more to USAID than CIA covert operations. And so when we talk about AID being shuttered today, we're talking about programs that were literally saving lives every day, providing food bought from U.S. farmers, by the way, by the federal government, and food, medicine, vaccines, quite a bit of support to many of the causes that we actually care about. So it's easy to look back on the older history of USAID when it was first started as a tool of the Cold War. The Cold War has been over for a long time now, so closing it down now is simply a crime against humanity, frankly, in my opinion, because so many people will die and suffer and become ill and impoverished by this cruel act of simply closing the doors of the USAID programs.
Peter Kornblue, the New York Times, reports a senior official at the main U.S. aid agency, which is being dismantled by Trump, told employees to clear safes holding classified documents and personnel files by shredding the papers or putting them into bags for burning, according to an email sent to the staff. The significance of this, you as an archivist who deeply wants to understand what is happening and has happened in the past.
Well, there is a Federal Records Protection Act, a law that prevents documents from just being wantonly destroyed, erased, shredded, burned, as this email that you refer to indicated. And so that was very alarming when that news broke and that email was shared with the kind of legal community. It also spoke to the issue of whether these documents might have been relevant in the ongoing lawsuits, the legal pushback by AID employees to save their jobs and save their institution. Legal efforts that are underway right now, and those documents might have actually been relevant to those legal efforts.
Wow.
my organization joined in protesting that action. It was the subject of court discussion. We don't know, we don't have an index of what documents were actually shredded that day and burned that day, but hopefully at some point we will. But that speaks to a different issue, Amy, that I hope we want to raise before we go, which is, part of what's important about the declassification of the John F. Kennedy documents is not just what's in the documents. It is the law that mandated that declassification, which was known as the JFK Act and passed in 1992. And it was a law that's probably the strongest law on declassification that's ever been written. It created an independent panel outside of the National Security Agencies to oversee the declassification of the documents. It mandated that, with very few exceptions, the documents be released without censorship, without redactions. And this is a law that really is very important. Now that it's been fully implemented by, ironically, Donald Trump, it's a law that creates a new standard and a new precedence for openness and transparency. And it's very important that now that we have that standard, we apply that standard to the very administration that is in power today.
And it's interesting that while he's released the JFK files, the Shabaka'S family is asking for the release of the Malcolm X files, which he has yet to do. Peter Kornblue, in the last 30 seconds, I wanted to get your response to President Trump basically also shuttering
very interesting.
Voice of America and Radio Marti, particularly the news, if you could call it that agency that was broadcasting into Cuba U.S. propaganda.
Well, he has shuttered the Cuba programs. USAID had Cuba democracy programs, which were very objectionable to the Cubans. Those are gone now. Radio Marti, TV Marti, gone now. That does not mean that Trump is not going to be pressuring Cuba in other ways, but at least the Cuba programs are gone. People who look closely at the Voice of America will know that they've used our documents in many stories that they've done. They, too, are not the Cold War product that they once were, and had some value around the world.
We're going to have to leave it there, but we'll continue in a post show at democracynow.org. Peter Kornblue, Senior Analyst for Latin America National Security Archive.
All righty, Shabaka. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting, and you can see it's very, very complicated. And that there, the time in history that he's speaking of was when I was a baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when I was a baby. And so it would be very, very interesting to see these documents released. But as you can see, they omitted a lot of stuff. And I'm quite sure that's what they're going to have with these documentations on Malcolm X. And I'm sure they're also too going to have the same BS with documents on Dr. King's murder as well too. And keep in mind, as you say, they fear our coming together, and that's why we have proven here, with these travel bans and what have you. And please, white America, go to the like page on Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhance on Facebook and tell us why that you are in so much fear of people of African descent uniting. Why are you in so much fear of Native Americans uniting? It's because let's look at the situation with the 50-year-old case now of Leonard Peltier.
Yeah. Yeah, he just got out. We covered it on the front.
Oh, he did get out. Okay, well, that's good. Yeah. Okay, that's good, because I do recall
he was very happy to be out. His family was with him.
Right. And so I appreciate what they did up there at Wounded Knee, you know what I mean? But at the same token, when you look at a film called Buck and the Preacher, just remember the line that the Native American woman said to Buck about black people joining the white man against their people. They say, okay, and please disregard that 516-418 number up there, ladies and gentlemen. You know, that platform of Blog Talk Radio is no longer in existence. And then also, too, Brother Che, when would you like to do another live stream on for Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced?
On Tuesday, because we got Frontline Black News tomorrow.
Okay, all right. So we'll make it for Tuesday, and then I made a flow chart. Okay, people. So therefore, we're going to be doing it on Tuesday at 6 p.m. in the Pacific, at 9 p.m. in the East. And all of those of you in the East who will be joining us, just let us know that you are in the East, and we'll come with your comments first, because we do know, you know, you're 3 hours ahead of us and 2 hours ahead of the mountain time. So these are some very, very uneasy times that we are in this current part of history here in the year 2025. So when people look at this stuff here 100 years from now, you know, oh, that's what was going on. And and then also too, that business about the astronauts being up there in outer space like that, I'm of the opinion, repeat, of the opinion, just like the Apollo missions were, repeat, of the opinion that these were done on Hollywood movie sets. And I will elaborate on that in the future.
Now we're going down the rabbit hole, Shabaka. We're supposed to be closing out. Now you want to go down the rabbit hole.
Okay, now, so those there are our closing comments. We do research our episodes. We do realize that we're not popular with everybody. But guess what? Everybody ain't popular with us, okay? Right. All right, but however, you know, yeah. And we do, you know, welcome if people want to have respectful and intelligent conversations. Okay, Brother Jay, this is Shabaka saying Corey for Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced now with StreamYard, and also too for Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase. I'm going to bid everybody a good day from Sin City. You know, I got some errands to go out here and run. This is what happens when you get old. Instead of you being ready to go in 15 minutes, now you need 15 hours. That's bad. That's bad. But don't laugh, Shani. Live long enough. You know, be old. You know, be up here gumming.
You gotta live to get old. You gotta live to get there.
Yeah, and you know, and time don't wait for nobody. And I'll be the first one to tell you that, because I find myself writing down a lot of notes. You know, because half my memory is gone. You know, what could that be from? You know what I mean? Stress, people, being black in America, or being a black man in the world. That's what now?
Stress. That's the #1 killer of us.
Yeah. I've been under a lot of stress now, you know, going on about 50 years, you know, but still here, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot, you know. Okay, folks. Okay, Brother Chess, I'll give you a call later on, you know, in the day, or what have you. Then give Lady Che my regards, hopefully, you know, and I'm sure she will make a full recovery.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm going to go shortly after this.
Okay, and shout out there to Twin and Mac 285 and Jay Militant.
The MD too. Don't forget
yeah, oh yeah, most definitely MD. You know, most definitely MD. And by the way, Brother Che, we got how much longer we got the preseason, man?
Oh my gosh, at least 5, 6 months.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the Raiders can get their minds right and put them ponies back in the barn.
y'all shipwrecked in the middle of the desert, not going nowhere.
Well, we could sell a ship on dry land, dag nabbit. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody wants you, so you're stuck.
Well, that's why we're pirates. Who wants pirates?
Okanda,
you know. And then we're in our buckets.
Man, y'all needed that win more than us.
Earth calling.
Our top 2 players were out, so we still lead y'all.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I have to check my sports section. You know what I'm saying, on the NBA. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we bid everybody a great day. And this is Shabaka'S and Chorus signing off from Sin City. Come on, 7-Eleven. Clack, clack, clack. Shabaka needs some new canes to walk around with.
Season 10, episode 13 of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced Grand Rising with Shabaka and the Chase. Join us tomorrow for a brand new episode of the Frontline Black News in our last year-ending season of season 5.
Okay, and what time? We're doing Frontline Black News.
9 p.m. your time, preferably.
Okay.
9.
Okay. All righty. And then just shoot me a text, man, of the subjects that we'll talk about so I could do some more research on them. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get out here in the streets of Las Vegas. Hopefully I don't come across any more driverless vehicles. Oh, by the way, Brother Che, did you see the picture I did of the driverless car in Las Vegas?
No, Shabaka, remember, I don't have access to Facebook.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Okay. All right, okay, so I'll send it to your number. And then on top of it too, people, you know, be leery of them driverless cars and give them at least a mile, you say, because, you know, they can go crazy at any time. They'll have you going around in circles. But my question is, if you get hit by one of them damn things, who do you sue?
Like I said, the corporation.
But that's a legal entity, man. You know what I'm saying? That's a separate legal entity. I mean, who personally do you sue? The CEO,
the corporation,
the CFO, or what? Or somebody who they make a scapegoat to? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, you know, but like they say, you know, I see the benefits of this technology, but it could be extremely dangerous, folks. Dangerous. We need our own. So hit that, what we got up there to donate to us there, Brother Che. You know what I'm saying? Put that up there. So, because we need money, you know, like the rest of these platforms, because, you know, we are literally been going out of our pocket thousands of dollars. Yeah, there you go right there. So
Cash App, PayPal, hit the PayPal.
Yeah, you see, so we need money too. You know what I'm saying? You know. Okay, Brother Che. So wish you all well in the Mile High. What's your temperature there in the Mile High City?
43 degrees.
Man, you all is too cool for me, man. I need the sun out here. You know what I'm saying? My. Yeah, well, I won't be going there in March anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, you were warned. You effed around and found out.
Yeah. It was too cool for me. And then state of Colorado send me money for tolls. You know what I'm saying? Saying that you owe us money. And if you don't pay, we're tearing up your vehicle registration out there in what's the name of this damn state I'm in? Oh yeah, the Silver State. Yeah. Yeah, the Silver State, you know. I say this cold piece of work. AI technology, boy, is being programmed, man, and there is definitely designing it to break us. You know what I'm saying? And what happened? Huh?
Look at who's designing it. It's not us.
Yeah, exactly. You know. Yeah. Only if they used it for good purposes. Okay, people, I'm out from Sin City. Okay, everybody have a great day. Take care.
Income City. So we'll see y'all
and
tomorrow.
put them ponies back in the barn and quit eating them GMO oats.
Heat those gators in the shipwrecked hull of the ship that they are landlocked
Well,
in.
they're trying to raise the ship. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. I don't know what's worse. The Raiders shipwrecked out here in the desert, or that two-man sub that imploded down there trying to look at the Titanic.
That's as low as they can go.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. So condolences to those families as well, to their losses. Okay, folks, I'm out. Okay, Brother Chad, I'll give you a call later on. And those of you, please spread this video far and wide. All right. Talk to you soon. I'm out.
All right, peace.